Welcome to Boulder City City Council for our special meeting. And on the agenda, we'll call this to order. And do you have posting a roll call?
Mayor, this meeting has been posted in accordance with Nevada open meeting law. All members are present with the exception of Councilmember Fox. You do have a quorum.
Thank you. We'll now open it up for public comment on this part of the agenda. It's matters pertaining to the agenda for action, and each person has up to 5 minutes to speak on any specific agenda item. Anybody who would like to come forward can come forward now while we're interested if we have anyone on the phone line or written. Any written comments?
No written comments.
And if you want to call in, call 702-589-9629. And we'll anticipate there will be somebody coming up for public comments, so we can wait on the phone line without looking like we're nervous. There are at least 3 people here nervous. Did I say that? (702-589-9629). The items on the agenda may be taken out of order, and as we're waiting for someone to call in, members do not have to be physically present to have public comment, but they can call in or write in, and that will be applicable to the, after we're all done with the regular agenda for public comment. They can weigh in on whatever they would like on the second public comment. No one on the phone lines. We will close public comment and go to our special agenda. And number 1, Mr. Bolt.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I'm Bryce Bolt, Administrative Services Director. Item 1 of the agenda today is for possible action pertaining to the performance evaluation of City Clerk Tammy McKay with a consideration of salary and/or benefit adjustment. The statutory requirement of notice was provided to Ms. McKay and acknowledged. She has a presentation, after which you can complete evaluations. And then we'll need just a short recess to average the 4 scores of the council members to come up with a council overall score. If you have no questions, I'll have Ms. McKay do her presentation.
Any questions?
Very good, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. McKay.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Thank you for allowing me this public opportunity to present and be evaluated. I appreciate it. We're going to start off first with a short video. I don't have props, so I'm going to show a video. I'm requesting that item number 11 be removed from the agenda and brought forward at a later meeting. For the City of Boulder City, Nevada,
For the City of Boulder City, Nevada,
on which I am about to enter,
in which I'm about to enter,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
I'd like to thank Holly Webb and Carly Poindexter for producing this video, which displayed some of the activities of the City Clerk's office. Before I begin, I would like to disclose pursuant to NRS 281A that I have a private pecuniary interest in this item as it may determine potential increases in my compensation, benefits, and/or changes to my employment contract. I'm Tammy McKay, your city clerk. The success of the city clerk's office isn't about me. It's about the great people who work with me. I would like to introduce the city clerk team. First, we have Stacy Brownfield, our deputy city clerk, filling in for me now, taking minutes. And Bridget Rodriguez, our city clerk assistant and 2023 Employee of the Year. I cannot say enough about the support of this team. They help create a happy, supportive, and productive office. Tina Pickens, our records technician, is away from the office today, but she's an integral part of the team as well, and I'd like to thank her for her support. The office of the city clerk is the city department that the city council, other departments, and the general public rely on for information regarding the operations and legislative history of the city. Many of the city clerk's specific responsibilities are guided by state laws, such as NRS 241, which is the Nevada Open Meeting Law, NRS 239, Public Records, and NRS 293 and 295 related to elections. The city clerk's office also provides the administrative support to the mayor and city council members. The open meeting law requires posting agenda notices on the official website not later than 9 a.m. on the third working day before the meeting is held. The city clerk's office strives to post the agenda and backup material 7 days prior to the meeting to provide more review time for the council and for the public. The implementation of the city's Agenda Management Solution 1 meeting, formerly PrimeGov, has been instrumental in managing the workflow to streamline the agenda process. One of the biggest advantages of one meeting is the ability for the public to live stream the meetings while they are in session, and it produces timestamps that link the agenda to the video for on-demand viewing. The video is also available with closed captioning the next day. To assist staff in preparation of creating and moving an item through the entire agenda process, the city clerk's office developed an agenda process manual that's very detailed with how-to guidelines and visual examples. Per state law, minutes or recordings of each meeting must be made available for inspection by the public within 30 working days after the meeting and provided upon request at no charge. During the 2023 calendar year, the city clerk's office was responsible for overseeing 28 city council meetings. We processed 326 agenda items, 80 ordinances, 185 resolutions, and 112 public notices. We were also responsible for 5 redevelopment agency meetings, 9 business license liquor board meetings, 1 audit review committee meeting, 44 committee and commission meetings. The city clerk's office provides access to official city records and performs legislative functions that promote government transparency. Some of the benefits of scanning records into our Laserfish repository is first, protecting the documents, making them accessible to the public 24/7, and a reduction in the number of public records requests processed by staff, which results in a cost savings of staff's time. Right now, we're currently really working on getting all of the building address files available to the public. That's one of our biggest requests. The city clerk is the local election official who oversees municipal elections which are governed by NRS. Our office works closely with the Clark County Election Department, who provides election services to municipalities. Candidate filing closed last week, and there were 7 Boulder City residents who filed declarations of candidacy for 2 council member seats. The charter requires a primary municipal election for eliminating candidates in excess of a figure double the number of council members to be elected. In other words, if there were 5 or more, it required a primary. So the primary election will be June 11th, 2024. The general election will take place on November 5th, 2024. In preparation of the 2024 election, the city clerk staff has attended the Nevada Secretary of State's cybersecurity class, which is required by state law, and we've participated in numerous meetings and attended a conference with all of the Nevada clerks, the Secretary of State, and the Clark County Election Department. Next, passport services. All members of the city clerk's office serve as acceptance agents, and we are required to complete recertification testing annually. Audits are also conducted by the U.S. Department of State every 2 years to determine if the city clerk's office is maintaining accurate and complete records. The last audit was conducted in June 2023, and each time we've passed successfully. This past calendar year, 396 passports were processed. We limited appointments because the demand is so great it would require additional staff. The revenue generated from this service was $20,980, and Bridget Rodriguez is the expert. Continuing education, training, and community involvement. I would like to let you know that I'm currently enrolled in a professional development academy that was designed to develop professionals to their highest leadership potential and to maximize efficiency to create the fastest return on learning possible. I've completed 8 weeks of the 12-week program, and it's been one of the best professional courses I've received to date. It primarily focuses on leading effective change and the best ways to communicate during times of change. The program provides multiple models, perspectives, and approaches for identifying and planning to overcome resistance and aligning change plans with culture. I meet weekly with a breakout group colleague and discuss the content. A summary of the discussion is posted and discussed at a live event every Friday. And I'll inform all of you once my academy is completed. One of the key takeaways has been determining the lens through which your team views their current position so you can adjust your engagement strategy to maximize their contributions. I've found this really helpful because apparently not everybody thinks exactly like I do. Most importantly, the course is designed to help identify and explore ways to improve as a leader, to empower and engage our employees. Employee training. Stacy Brownfield has attended 9 training sessions and numerous meetings in preparation of the election. Tina Pickens has attended 12 training sessions related to records management and security awareness. She applied and received a grant so she and Bridget can attend the Laserfish Conference in April. Bridget has attended numerous educational programs approved by the International Institute of Municipal Clerks in preparation of obtaining a certified municipal clerk designation. She applied and received grants for 2 of the educational programs. This designation requires extensive educational points, experience points, 2 years as an active member in the IIMC, and she's expected to earn her certified municipal clerk designation later this year. We're very proud of her. It's no easy feat. And just so I will mention, so the first part of the program is to receive your certified municipal clerk designation, and then you go on with extensive training to eventually earn your master municipal clerk, which Stacy Brownfield and I both have. My community involvement includes supporting the mayor and serving as treasurer for the Civilian Military Council. I serve as director and secretary on the Boulder City Museum and Historical Association Board, and I'm an active Boulder City Sunrise Rotary member. I also was invited and recently attended a meeting of the Romeos. The accomplishments I have listed here were goals last year, and we've accomplished all of them. We evaluated the committees and commissions' functions and recommended to the council reducing the number of utility advisory committee members from 7 to 5 in an effort to support a quorum. We were having a difficult time getting a quorum so that they could actually hold their meetings. We worked with the utilities department staff, parks and recreation staff to help improve and ensure their agenda topics were clear and concise, and we provided assistance to help summarize their meeting minutes for future reference. The city clerk's office worked to migrate 2022 and part of 2023 meeting agendas, packets, minutes, and videos that were on our former agenda management solution, Novus Agenda, These were all transitioned over to One Meetings portal, so now they're easily acceptable to public and staff. Regarding knowledge of the office functions, it was brought to my attention by the Deputy City Clerk that all of the office procedures of the City Clerk's office were stored in my head. So we immediately began cross-training in an effort to ensure processes are documented so business essential services will continue in the event of employee absences. I've reached out to clerks, on another note regarding updating our city code, I've reached out to clerks throughout Nevada seeking recommendations about potential vendors to help rewrite the city code. They've checked with all of their attorneys, and there doesn't appear to be any companies that offer this broad service. The only services we've found that are available are vendors who would rewrite the zoning code. So we'll, with the community development, look into that this next year. This matter is now a new goal for the city clerk and the city attorney, and we'll continue exploring all of our options this year. The city clerk's office also explored and participated in a demonstration with our current digital services vendor, eSign Live, so we can offer digital notary services. It's a requirement that the company be registered with the Nevada Secretary of State, and they are seeking approval to become a solution provider. Goals. The first one is succession planning. Over the next 5 years, we expect staffing changes could likely occur in the city clerk's office. An important goal is to ensure important knowledge is not lost with the departure of key employees, and a successor can assume the responsibilities successfully. In addition to cross-training, the focus will include mentoring and development, clarifying our roles, and updating our job descriptions. The city clerk's office is the custodian of records for the city and is dedicated to taking full advantage of new technological developments to enhance the efficiency and performance, to prepare and maintain records indexing, storage, and the archival of all of the official records. Tina and Bridget will be attending this upcoming Laserfish conference, which takes place in Las Vegas, in hopes to learn about advancements to the software in an effort to increase the productivity of the city's records management system, which we're very happy with, but we just believe there's probably a lot of advancement since we started with Laserfish. The city is also working with IT to determine if we can effectively migrate our data from a self-hosted repository system into a cloud-based system. We're taking on a big project right now. We're establishing a records and storage facilities inspection and an inventory checklist. This will determine what records are being maintained citywide by departments and division. We'll go and meet with everyone involved with records one by one. The information gathered will identify the records specific to each department and division to ensure compliance with the records retention schedule. It will also provide a guide for sharing information on the processes for an effective knowledge transfer. We are expecting this project may take up to 2 years to complete. It's an ongoing goal that the city attorney and the city clerk will continue, like I said, drafting amendments to update our city code, which I know is an important priority to council and to the public. Public service. The city clerk's office is committed to provide exceptional customer service internally and to fulfill citizens' needs and expectations. We will continue to maintain and enhance the public's trust and ensure they have access to resources, information, and support. I'm so grateful to have the privilege of working with this council, all the amazing employees, and serving the Boulder City residents. Thank you for your time, and I stand for any questions or comments.
Madam City Clerk, substituting, are we allowed to ask her questions?
Yes, you are.
All right, any questions for the city clerk? Councilwoman Booth?
So I see some of in your video here, that you have files like you would see in the doctor's office and stuff like that. Are those the files you're trying to put on microfiche, or are those separate files?
Yeah, the ones that they actually displayed, or that we displayed in the video, are permanent records that we will keep a hard copy in our record storage room, which nobody else has access to. But those are included in the repository as well, so the public does have access to those. But resolutions, ordinances, and our minutes, we choose to keep as a permanent hard copy record.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
A duplicate.
Only of what we feel is very vital to the operations.
Right, thank you. Other question?
And minutes, for me, the minutes are just historical value, and for research reasons, a lot of people still like the hard copy minutes to review.
Thank you. Councilwoman Jorgensen.
Thank you. First off, just a huge thank you to your office. There's not a minute that I spend in there that I don't feel happier when I leave, to be honest. Bridget, Stacy, Tina, yourself are always very positive, and you always feel good when you leave. And I think that that's reflective of the work that you do in there and the way that you work with the public. I've seen each of you individually help the public, and I can tell that your public service and the way that you communicate with them is a credit for us here at the city. So thank you. It's clear that what you do is more than just the minutes or run the meeting, that there's a lot that actually goes into it. And I think that there's a lot behind the scenes that we don't understand. Just this year, as comes around, right, voting, which adds an extra element to this year for you and for all of you. And I'm thankful for the diligence within which you make sure that we as a community have a fair voting opportunity here. So thank you.
Thank you.
I am also very impressed with the grants that you went out to get to further your education in this area and received and then used. So to be able to make our city clerk's office even that much more educated and prepared to do the job that we set out to do in a way that we set out to do it. And I wonder if you need to put this above your door, custodians of record. I love that statement, right? That you are the custodians of the records of what happens for the city. And I think that is an important job, and it has to be done right, and it has to be done exact. So I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for being willing to do all the passports and make $20,000 in revenue just on passports itself. I know that I've used that service, and I appreciate it. And it's something that we offer here at the city that is good for our residents, right? One less trip over the hill is...
It is. We're very happy to provide that service.
Yeah, they love it. I have been here, I've seen the smallest of people getting their passports, just smiling out there, giggling and having fun, to the very oldest, like myself, and getting theirs. So just a huge thank you to all of you, and thank you for setting the example.
Thank you.
In your office.
It's easy to do. We really all love our jobs.
Thank you. Councilman Malton.
Thank you. You know, the type of work that you do, dealing with records and all the associated details that go along with that, most people might describe as the least exciting type of job to do. And therefore, it requires, I think, a great degree of understanding of the importance and passion, if you will, for ensuring that it's done well and right, and also surely a certain degree of self-initiative to get to it, because it's not like it's going to be all that exciting once you do. So, and all, you know, you listed all the numbers, right, and I couldn't keep track of all of them, and all that you do with all the committees and commissions and everything, yet every time I myself step in that office or anybody else that I witness, your team always has the time, and you still get everything done. And I think, you know, you did a great job of applauding your team members' accomplishments. And to a certain degree, we could say you're doing a good job, right? Or the job that you're doing can be reflected in the success and achievements of your team. And so I believe that indicates good leadership, good team building, and good communication within the department, which all are essential no matter what department that you're in. Excellence in any endeavor is in the details, and your office is definitely involved in details of the work of the city. And so we appreciate the excellence that's displayed and the degree to which you seek and achieve excellence in what you do. I'm really happy to hear of the Professional Development Academy that you're attending. That I wish that everybody across the city, at least department heads and beyond, would have the opportunity to participate in something like that. And I'm sure every section that you're going through each week is outstanding. You did mention one of the sections about empowering and engaging employees, which I think is important. We oftentimes look at the appointed officials and the department heads and don't always give the time and attention to engagement and development of all the employees across the board. And I appreciate that you recognize the importance of that and commented on it specifically in the Leadership Academy. That's important to the city all across the board. And succession planning in small communities, it's very difficult. And generally, we don't have the people that we can develop to come up in succession planning. You happen to be able to have a handful of staff, but to be able to do that. And that's so critical. And to have a leader that recognizes the importance of it and places a priority and allows the opportunities for your staff to be able to put themselves in a position for that succession planning is very important. We would, want to make sure that the excellence continues, right, through your tenure and beyond.
Exactly.
And so thank you for the succession planning and the emphasis you place on that.
You're welcome.
I don't have any questions, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to provide some comments. Thank you.
Thank you. I've personally appreciated the professional attitude that you have and you instill in your team, and your team is so supportive. And I see your team being as supportive of you as you may be of them. And I appreciate that opportunity to watch that happening. I think you are very good at being visible in the community. I think it's good to have your face out there. And so I appreciate you and your team being so unified in what you do. And I personally appreciate the gentle way that you tell the mayor what he should do and what he shouldn't do in public, so that I don't get into trouble as much as I am wont to do. But yes, I appreciate what the whole team has done, and so anything that we do in your annual performance evaluation reflects on your team. And I appreciate your willingness and dedication to the job, and more importantly, to each and every person in Boulder City.
Thank
So
you.
thank you. Appreciate it.
I appreciate you.
And go ahead, Councilwoman Booth.
I didn't get to make a comment, sorry. I too wanted to express what everybody's saying here, that I think that you excel at what you're doing, and it has that trickle-down effect. If you're kind, then everybody in the office is kind. And I think everybody is so professional there. Although we can smile when we walk in, and it's not that rigid, it's comfortable, and I think that just displays who you are, and it just trickles down to all the employees. And I really appreciate everything they do for me, because I've always got these little questions that need to be answered. So I do appreciate it, and I do think you excel at what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you for the kind words.
Thank you, Councilwoman Booth. And at this point, we've had the presentation, we've asked the questions. Bryce, what do you want us to do at this point?
Well,
You want me to
perhaps
leave?
just giving the evaluations, and again, it will come up with a council average, and then that may play a factor in whether you, what you consider on the resolution relative to compensation and benefits.
So you want us to hand in our evaluations to you right now?
Yes, sir, and then I'll take a few minutes just to add up those average, of a council average, and then I'll bring that right back to you. And then you can discuss further.
So we'll take a recess?
Yes.
So we could take a recess.
We're going to take a recess while we learn to count. Did everybody, Bryce? That's just me.
No, I don't. I have those electronic.
survive.
We are back from recess and our special meeting for City Council Boulder City. So, Madam City Clerk, you have additional information you'd like to share with us?
I do. I'll just explain my contract a little bit. In my contract, it was set that I would start receiving CPI beginning July 1st, 2024. So to go back, my salary was set last year at one amount, and because I didn't get CPI immediately, I received a reduction because of a PERS increase, where everybody else, they received a CPI, so the adjustment made it where their paycheck was not reduced. So I'm asking that my pay be set back to where it was established last March and make it effective last July until this point. Does that make sense? So it was set at one amount last March.
Right.
And then July came around and there was a reduction in my pay because of a PERS increase that wasn't realized by all staff members.
Right.
It was only realized by me and one other appointed official because all of our contracts are different.
So what you're saying is you would like us to honor the CPI that you were officially awarded in July of 2022?
No, not even CPI. I'm not even asking an increase of that much of CPI, just to set my rate back to where it was established in March, which is a difference of 1.875%.
So you'd like to be made whole from the
Yes.
reduction of
Yes,
PERS?
please.
And then you would be happy?
Yes, and I have two other items, though.
Go ahead.
So this was, in my opinion, inadvertently left out because our contracts didn't state that we received all of the benefits of department heads. They spelled everything out separately. I don't receive the same benefit as all the other employees, so I don't receive court leave. So if I'm on jury duty, I don't get paid by the city if I go to jury duty, and I do get called to jury duty. I was just called a year before last for a week. And we also don't have bereavement leave. And I know this because my mother passed away this year too, and I had to use annual leave to attend the funeral. And I'm not asking that that be set back. I'm just asking moving forward if those could be added to my contract.
Mayor and council, you won't be able to amend the contract today. That wasn't that's not on the agenda, but if there's desire to do that, then we can bring the contract back at a later time and have appropriate, and have a council for that as well.
Can we even talk about that?
Yes, you can, because the benefits, it is a benefit, and benefits are agendized. But just to amend the actual contract, that would have to be a different meeting.
Okay. So let me ask it this way. Do I need a vote to whether or not to amend the contract or to bring it back?
You can just discuss whether, the benefits should be included. You don't need a vote.
Okay. So I will hear, you
I have a
had
question.
something, Councilwoman Booth.
For bereavement, does everybody get a certain amount, or, okay, so how?
Yeah, and
what do-
I have it as a handout in front of you.
Okay, so
Uh-huh.
everybody gets the same thing?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure there was a different departments.
Yes, I guess I believe it was just inadvertently left out of our contract because court leave and bereavement leave is actually included in the personnel policy.
Okay.
But because we have a specific contract, if it's not spelled out in the contract, it doesn't matter that it's in a policy.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And we have that in front of us.
Right here.
Okay, all right. So I would hear other comments. Go ahead, Councilman.
Questions, if now's the time for
Yeah.
that? Okay, thank you. If you could please clarify on the pay. Was your contribution to PERS 1.875%, as was,
Yes.
Yeah.
Mine was just realized, though, because I didn't get the cost of living that year, because mine didn't become effective until this year.
right.
So nobody realized, per se, the increase in PERS, but I did because I didn't have CPI.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So people that got, let's say, a 3% CPI and then had the 1.875 reduction ended up in a positive.
Yes,
Whereas, your CPI was put off until July of this year, so the 1.875 hit you as a reduction in your paycheck.
yes, beginning July 1st.
And so to clarify, your request is to bring you up 1.875%, which will bring you back to what your pay was last March.
Correct,
And that's your request.
correct.
And have it be effective March of 2023. Was that
It would,
also
no, it
part
would be
of your?
July.
July
Because
of,
March
because that's when
2023,
the
it was
PERS.
whole, yes.
Right,
Yes.
when the PERS went into
Yes.
effect. So you're asking the retroactive effective date of July 1,
Yes.
2023, the bump of 1.875%.
Correct.
I see, okay. And then I do have a question, and I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if you can answer this or if this is for Mr. Bolt. As I read the bereavement leave, and if this is not the time, City Attorney, please just cut me off and we can discuss it later. But I just want to get a clarification because just reading it for the first time right here, I have a question, or I think I have a question. As I'm reading it, it says that you can have up to a maximum of 30 hours of bereavement leave per occurrence of incidents of death of the qualified individual. Bereavement leave longer than 30 hours may be charged to accumulated sick leave up to 10 hours. So is the bereavement leave bank separate from sick and vacation? And it has a 30-hour balance there?
As far as I understand, it's not actually separated in the system. If a qualifying event happens, then we code it that way, if you will.
Okay.
There isn't a bank that one might use or not use.
Okay, right. So they won't see it on their pay stub?
No, sir.
As a balance. So it's not the 30 hours, the initial 30, right, isn't charged against sick or annual. It's coded as bereavement leave. It's leave with pay, basically, with that code. And then they can take an additional 10 hours and charge that to sick leave for that incident.
Yes, sir.
Is that what we're talking about?
Yes.
And then if they need more hours than that, they charge it against sick or vacation, whatever's appropriate?
Whatever's appropriate, yes.
Okay. Then you clarified the question I had. Thank you.
Anyone else have a question or clarification? So what we're talking about, I'm going to separate it this way. We are doing the two things that Councilman Walton clarified, and we're discussing that now, to bring the city clerk back up to the 1.875 from July, make that whole, and then the bereavement leave similar to what would be the other people who are employed by the city. So,
Can the court leave be included in that, Mr. Mayor?
can the court be included in that?
For jury duty.
Jury duty?
Yeah, it's 6.6 of the personnel policy is court leave, and 6.7 is the bereavement leave.
We can do anything we want.
At a future meeting.
Yeah, I think we're just looking for discussion on whether the benefits are appropriate, if the council, each council member can express their opinion, then we can bring back a possible amendment for later consideration by the city council to actually amend the contract to allow for those leaves.
So I can say, for instance, well, what I think is to bring the PERS back whole, and then to consider whenever it's available and appropriate to do, to have bereavement leave similar to what every other person has, including any other benefit that every other person have. Can I say that?
Yes, that just doesn't need to be in the motion. The motion's really for the
1.875.
compensation.
So I'm ready to accept a motion for the bereavement, however anybody would like to make that motion. And then we can also say anything related to merit.
There doesn't need to be a motion for bereavement I think he's just bringing it to your attention.
So that I can bring it back at a future meeting. if-
Right.
Okay,
Yeah, just the resolution before you is for the salary adjustment.
okay.
And so at the resolution, you can approve a salary adjustment you feel is appropriate. And make that, you can add to your motion effective a certain date if you'd wish to make it retroactive.
So what I'm hearing is we can say what we've said and our intention is, and now we need to do something based on a quote unquote potential raise in salary.
Would it be possible to see the cumulative score before we go through a resolution so that we can?
Yes, I've waited for that.
We've been
drum-
waiting for
I've
this.
got the drum beat.
Okay, you do the drum beat and let's
So I wanted to
look at
make
that.
sure
Thank
we
you.
were clear on the bereavement and all those other things before I say her cumulative evaluation was 4.70, which is just shy of 5.0. And so having said the cumulative evaluation was 4.70, I would ask the council what they feel about the recommendation for salary adjustment.
I'll make a motion if you like.
Let's have a discussion.
Oh, you want to have a discussion?
Yeah, just
I'm sorry.
throw whatever out you want.
To do the 1.87 and make it hold to 722, is that,
Yeah, that I don't need a motion for.
or 23? To 723, correct?
Is that your motion to, yes?
He wanted discussion, but that's,
We have three things we were
One.
discussing.
No, there's really, if you all would like to discuss,
We've discussed.
okay.
And
Then
we've
there's only
discussed the 1.875, and we have come to some kind of TAVIT agreement. And then we've recognized that it would be nice for everybody to be treated similarly for bereavement. I think we have kind of shaken heads on that because we don't
I would
need a
like to
motion.
present some alternative discussion to that, though, when you're ready for that.
Okay, so we have felt inclined to bring somebody up to where they should be. And the only thing I need a motion on now is, quote, pay raise / merit, based on merit. Question.
and it was 1.87. You said 8.5.
875.
So it was 1.87. I'm done.
So again, the resolution is really just for the salary adjustment. So the motion should only be focused on the salary adjustment and not any other items.
Right, and so that salary adjustment doesn't have to include making whole on hers?
It would, because the resolution is effective today. So if you want to make the raise go into effect in July of last year, you would have to make that part of the motion.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Councilwoman Booth, you're,
That was my motion, to 1.87, effective 7/23.
and is there,
And I think.
And that would
I know, but I
actually
feel
be
like
it's 1.875 was the PERS decrease in July.
Then I'll correct that to 1.875, back to 7/23.
and is there a second?
I'll second.
And any discussion?
Yes.
Okay,
So I have on the dais here, Resolution 7772 and 1 pertaining to the city manager and the city attorney. I don't have anything for the city clerk.
So-
Was that an oversight, or was that just because it doesn't apply because these were corrections to what was already printed or
Yeah, the
published?
resolutions for the city manager and city attorney had errors, so you have handouts there. The 770 is in the packet,
Okay.
and so it is a part of the
Okay.
record.
So, I didn't fully study the reasoning behind why we didn't give the city clerk the CPI effective July 1 of 2023. And if anybody, the city clerk or Mr. Bolt or anybody over here remembers that conversation, why we didn't do that, I'd like to have that clarification before we proceed on to further discussing this particular matter. Anybody?
I don't think there's a real reason.
Okay, so let me find the packet here. Because we gave a market adjustment
Correct.
for your position up to the given wage. And so to be consistent, if I can ask for consistency purposes, the city attorney and city manager not to have that conversation now, but just to ask the relation. Were either of you given a CPI effective July 1, 2023?
I was, because I had requested that change in my draft contract. I can't speak to council's reasoning as to why it was only made in mine and not the others, but I was the only one who affirmatively requested that it be made effective July 1, 2023.
So a market adjustment plus the CPI.
That's correct.
Okay, and city attorney, or city manager, market adjustment only.
Correct.
And then, did we agree at that time that your CPI would be deferred to this year, this calendar year 2020, or fiscal year 2024?
That's what was written in the contract.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the refresher there. And so,
If I might provide, but I
Sure.
mean, the contracts were approved, but when we were working on amending the contracts, I specifically requested numerous times that ours all have consistent language.
right. And I think to a certain degree, there is consistency other than just the fact that the CPI for the city attorney started July 2023. But everybody else, you're giving a little look like there's something else you want to say. You got the canary is in there. Let's let it out.
I don't know, for some reason, mine also doesn't say merit increase. Theirs specifically calls out merit increase, mine just says salary adjustment.
Would you like to make the distinction of how you observe that?
No, I'm just a consistency person, but
Details, right? Okay, so I was considering the discussion. I think it makes a little bit better sense to me now. I was pondering the idea, well, let's just make her CPI retroactive to July 1, 2023, and then let her absorb the reduction of PERS like I think most other employees in the city did. That was how that, and Mr. City Manager or City Attorney, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe most folks got some degree of a CPI, whatever it happened to be, and then they absorbed the PERS increase, their share, out of that raise. Isn't that how most everybody else took it?
That's correct, Councilmember. So non-represented personnel received a 3% increase on July 1 of 2023. Those on step plans also would have received a step if they were eligible for that. And then we also had a merit pool for the exempt personnel of 0 to 2%.
So, rather than, and I'm guessing that in our thought process, I didn't go back and look at the video, but I'll speak for myself. I'm making the connection that because she received the wage increase, we figured we'll just put off the CPI until the following year, after her wage is realized for that 12 months. So we could look at it one of two ways. We could say, all right, let's give her the 1.875% effective July 1, 2023, or I think it would kind of be reversing our decision to give her the CPI effective July 1, 2023, and let her absorb the PERS increase in her portion out of that. Probably is going backwards on what we decided. So I wanted to say that out loud to hear myself let the idea have a little air, and so I'm going to retract that comment, or just the idea of suggesting that, and say that I'm okay with the 1.875 effective July 1 as the increases has been moved and seconded.
Can I make one? I do remember we said over and over to I forget the attorney's name that we were working with, that we wanted them consistent and we wanted them the same for all three. So it's a shame that didn't happen, and I think probably we just all overlooked that portion of it because we said it so many times that we wanted it to be consistent. So I just wanted to make that comment.
So I'm going to muddy the water a little bit. So if we did the 1.875 retroactive to July, that would make her whole as to where she should be. And if we do that, then we, in essence, are not doing anything based on merit yet. And if we don't do anything based on merit, I'm a little uncomfortable.
What was the merit that we gave the employees, most of the employees? Is there a simple answer to that one?
Question mark.
So for exempt personnel, like department heads, they received between 0 and 2% for merit this past year. And then anyone that is on a step plan, those are typically 3% steps for the non-represented personnel.
Go ahead, Sherry.
I'm just trying to remember myself. So last time, didn't we decide, we did class and comp study, right? And we looked at your salaries, and you guys asked for adjustments within there, and we put them in a place that we thought were great. And then we then solidified that you would be within that process now, right? That instead of being merit-based, you would move up based on the steps that were within that class and comp?
Well, we don't officially have steps, but there is a range. So yes, you could, in essence, continue to step us up, but there's not an actual step.
An actual step. But definitely what we did say is then we do CPI.
Yes.
From that point on. And that CPI, if I hear you right, is 0 to 2%, 0 to 2.
2 to 3.
2 to 3. Okay, thank you. 2 to 3. So that's the discussion that could be had here. And you are asking for the 1 point.
The 2 to 3 CPI is automatic.
That's already in our
Automatic.
contract.
So the
will-
resolution is simply for a merit. So if you choose to give one at all.
So your merit is this 1 point that you're asking for?
No, I'm asking a reverse, that I be made whole back to last March when my pay was increased per the Evergreen study.
Okay, and in a merit increase?
That's council's discretion. I'm not asking for a merit increase.
Okay, because you're not asking, but then you will automatically receive a CPI.
Our
increase.
contracts state that it's council's discretion to increase our pay based on merit. Mine doesn't specifically call out merit, but that's what it is.
Okay,
And then the CPI is separate and automatic now in our contracts
okay, thank you.
with a cap of 3%.
With a cap of
Yeah.
3%, and that's determined by us or by what the average
There's a
just
Bureau,
is?
Bureau of Labor Statistics. There's language in the contract
That's what I thought.
specifically-
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
I had one quick question, sorry. Who gets 0 and who gets 2%? What is the deciding factor on that is what I'd like to know.
So for department heads, that was based on performance. So their scores that they receive on their performance reviews, and then other factors related to tenure and primarily performance, yes.
So are they scored the same way that we're scoring people today?
Similarly, it's a different tool, but it does have common themes and it does have an overall score. So, yes.
So for instance, again, discussion. I think we're comfortable with restoring, and then the question is, do we feel comfortable giving something based on performance, longevity, merit, pick the word you like, evergreen study, the basis for the lows and the highs? Do we feel comfortable giving additional to the 1.875 that was restored? Do we want to give anything else in the way of /merit, longevity, performance? Her performance rating was 4.7.
I have one more question, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So as you evaluate the people that you go from 0 to 2%, was there a factor in that? Hopefully everybody got treated equally. So if you got 5, then you got the 2%, and how did you decide what the other scores would be?
Yes, exactly that. So people that were in the top quartile of their scores received the 2%. Those that still did above average and satisfactorily did the 1%, and then those that either were too new to have a performance review or were not meeting expectations did not receive.
So an employee getting 4.7% would be in the top percentile. Is that, am I saying that correctly?
Yes, so the score of 4 on the tool, I believe, was exceeds expectations, and then the 5 is exceptional.
Mm-hmm.
So 3 is average.
Okay. So then could I amend to add 2%?
You can make your own amendment to your own motion, and we'll see if the second.
And then if the second wants to second that, that's,
What's your motion?
my motion would be to move it to the 1.875 back to 723 and give her a 2% merit.
And the second there?
I was a seconder on the original. Is that?
I'm
a
amending my, yeah.
Amendment to her motion.
No, I'm not going to second that.
Okay. And is there discussion on the amendment?
I'll give some discussion. So the Evergreen study brought us into the range we were comfortable with, and we'll use the city clerk's position right now, right? So we brought that position into the range that we thought was appropriate. And I think the question is, do we believe that the CPI is adequate to keep that position moving with what the Evergreen might reflect in 2-3 years, whatever, or do we believe that the CPI is going to make our city clerk position fall behind what that might reveal? Because if we brought those positions into alignment where we were comfortable, I believe the CPI is adequate to bring them there. We don't need to necessarily call it merit or anything else. I think what that increase does is keep that position consistent with where we wanted it to be, considering inflation. I think if we continue to give merit increases, then it might run above what our original intention was to keep it right where where we were comfortable with the Evergreen class and comp study. That's why I wasn't willing to second that, because I feel that then it's going to start pushing it beyond where we originally thought we wanted to be. So that's my comment on
But if
that.
the employees are getting the CPI and a merit increase, why shouldn't the city clerk get the CPI and a merit increase, is my question.
I don't know that, I think when you say the employees, I think you might want to direct that question to the city manager to have clarification on what your question is.
Can you make clarification on that for me? Thank you.
Sure. So let me just walk you through. So of course, we have the 8 bargaining units that have their increases that are negotiated for in their contracts, but we have 2 different sets of non-represented personnel. So we have the set that are on step plans. So they receive the cost of living increase, which is on July 1. So last year they received the 3% on July 1. And then on their anniversary date, Mr. Bolt did correct me, they receive a 5% step on their anniversary date. So there's step plans on those positions. So then those are people who are primarily hourly. And then when we look at people who are exempt, so non-hourly, so like the department heads and our managers, things of that nature, they received the cost of living in July, the 3%, and then they were able to receive between the 0 to 2% merit increase, which we did the merit pool in the last budget. So we had a finite amount of money to spread across all of those employees for merit increases to keep them competitive with the market.
You know, it's really, begs the question, were they brought into some alignment with the class and comp study themselves as well?
So we did implement the ranges from the class and compensation study for all employees back in the end of 2022. So wherever someone was at on their current salary translated into that range. Primarily, the majority of employees ended up towards the lower end of those ranges because the ranges were market rate at the time. I do believe we've perhaps fallen a little behind. So in this next budget that we present, we'll have a solution for that. But they are in line with the ranges in the compensation study.
And is there an end to the steps? Will they top out at step 3, 4, 5, whatever the top step is?
Yes, they do top out. Mr. Bullitt, how many steps are we at now on those plans? 12?
Yes, most of ours have 12.
And we're talking non-represented employees have
Correct.
12 steps, which is a 5% increase, plus, you're nodding your head no, city attorney.
So there's different sections of employees. Some have 3% steps, some actually do have 5.
Okay, but between 3 and 5.
Yeah.
In addition to their CPI raise.
Correct.
Is their step, does it coincide with the anniversary of their hire date, whatever
Correct.
time, and then on July 1, they get the CPI? So I think that's a disparity, and I'm glad we've fleshed that out, right? Because then I think our city clerk would fall behind these other employees who are on steps that are getting between 3 and 5%, wherever they were, but up to 12 being the top. The 12th step, if you will, plus CPIs. And I do then agree that if we don't give what would be called the equivalent of a step or a merit or whatever we call it, then our city clerks go in the wrong direction in relation to the other employees. Thank you for that clarification. Thank you for asking that question. I wouldn't feel comfortable not giving something additional after this complete discussion. So, could you restate what your motion was?
Motion was, I'm sorry. My motion is 1.875 back to 723, and to give her a merit increase of 2%.
Can I ask you to bump that to 3%? I'll second that.
For the merit increase? But most of the employees only got 2,
The department heads,
the department
but the
heads.
other non-represented employees got between 3 and 5.
Okay, that's fine with me.
If you're
I
willing
think
to
she
do
does an
that.
outstanding job, so I'm absolutely happy to change it to 3.
Okay, I'll second that.
So we've had a motion to do the 1.875.
Just quick clarification. So would the 1.875 be effective July 1, 23, and the 3% be effective today? Is that the
Correct.
motion? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so moved and seconded discussion about the 1.875 retroactive to July 1st of '23 and a 3%
Merit.
merit going forward from today. Discussion.
Yeah, I have a discussion. So we have the we should just say 2 to make that easier, but we have the 1.875. Then we have the 3 that you were talking about, and then you have your CPI, which could be or is 2 point,
A low of
Or-
2 and ceiling of 3.
so that could be a possible almost 8%. Are we comfortable with that?
8%?
Or 8, right?
7.875.
7.875, right? So am I right? So if you come near 3, and then we give 3, and then you've asked for close to 2, is my math right? My dad's a
Yes,
math
it is,
teacher.
yeah.
He'd be very,
So your math is correct.
Okay, good. He'll be
But if
proud.
you think about it from the lens of her salary at this time last year, it is just a total of possibly 6% above her salary at this time last year.
Right. Yeah,
Because
so
of
the
1.875.
right, right. I understand that.
1.875 makes her whole. So the issue is then, what do you want to do for merit? And
Right.
that's the discussion we're having.
Right, I'd love to have an endless pot of gold is what I'd love to have, and give merit raises that everyone deserved. We are a small municipality, my basic nature is to be conservative by nature within the financial aspect of our city funds. My only concern is that it was a significant raise last year. So percentage-wise, do you remember what it was?
I don't, because the salary was significantly reduced for my
Absolutely,
contract.
which I do agree with 100%, but I'm just saying perception, right, is a significant raise, and then another, say, 8% on top of it. It just makes me a little worried as far as that. But if it's something that everyone has an appetite for, I can support that, because you do have a 4.7, and I mean, that is approaching close to perfection, and an Olympic score, I'm thinking. So that is how I could support that. That's my comment.
But you know what, it's really not that high, because we're going back to where everybody else got something last year. So really, we're really just giving her the 5% this year. 3 and the 2, 3 and 3, it could be 6. I'm sorry. So we don't know what it's going to be this year. Do we know what the CPI is going to be?
So,
Realistically, not 2, but.
So it won't even be 2, so, okay. Thank you.
go ahead.
I think this is a great revelation, if we haven't already contemplated, as we approve salary ranges and pay scales for the variety of employees, there's always an impact in then being fair and equitable to the remainder of the employees, and particularly those, we have a handful of non-represented employees, and I don't know if the city manager could fire it off the top of his head, the ratio or the number of represented versus non-represented. If you can, throw it out there real quick, but it's not necessarily, necessary to the point I want to make. I would venture to say we have at least 2 to 1 represented versus non-represented. Is that fair? A lot of union represented employees and a lesser number, let's just say a lesser number of non-represented. And then we have our appointed officials and department heads. And I don't think our appointeds should bear the brunt of not receiving fair and equitable compensation because we gave it to everybody else, right? So I think we need to remember, whatever we're approving for other organizations, either represented or non-represented, we need to remember what the trickle down, if you want to call it that, or the comparative result is going to be with our other employees who will sit here on days like this and discuss. And so based on that, I don't want to see, our appointeds who we depend on so much. I mean, we depend on every employee, so that's not a fair statement. But certainly our appointeds who are at will, right, very at will, and don't have a bargaining unit. You're kind of on an island on your own, right? There is no other city clerk in the city. There are multiple department heads, right? There's not another city attorney, not another city manager, not another city clerk. And I don't want to see them inequitably served because of that. And I appreciate and I agree with you in that we need to be fiscally prudent and responsible, conservative, but I don't want it to be on the backs of our appointeds.
And I hope that's not how it sounded in my bringing that up. My bringing that up is that every percentage affects our budget in some way. And I wish we had endless resources, right? But we are a small municipality with the gift. There is gold over the rainbow. It's called solar. We are blessed to be able to have that, or we wouldn't even be having this discussion. We wouldn't have the ability to have any of these discussions, really. So is it based on what you're worth? I mean, yes, absolutely, right? I see that as a fair number. My concern only comes in if every year we're doing 8 to 10% raises for everyone, then where is all that money going to come from? Do we have a second solar farm area that we're going to be developing that I don't know about? So I just want to make sure that we are cognizant to what it is to bump up one group, then bump up the next one to it, and then move them past that and keep moving down the road. I do agree inflation is not our friend right now, and it has been hard. I do 100% agree that you were hired initially at a rate that was far below what your peers and or those also in other municipalities were receiving. And I think we tried to make that a little bit more whole last year for you. So I am good because I see here that your service is excellent. What you're offering the city in your performance far outweighs if we had to replace you. There's no guarantee that's coming in. So in that essence, I would say that I am comfortable with what has been suggested.
So if I could restate the motion and the second. Has talked about restoring the 1.875 back to July 1st, and then a 3% in merit, as it were, raise. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
It has been unanimous by those present. Thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I can just make sure we're clear on our direction to staff, that we are directing or allowing, if you will, the item to be brought forward at the appropriate time where we can consider the city clerk's contract to include court leave and bereavement leave. Those two. And those are the two only we're talking about, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
So did you get that, Madam City Attorney?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
So that was Resolution 7770, and we are now moving to number 2 on our list, our City Attorney Brittany Walker. Thank you all for the discussion. I appreciate it. Worked out very well. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, well, that was easy. And again, I'm Bryce Bold, Administrative Services Director. The second item on the agenda today is for possible action pertaining to the performance evaluation of City Attorney Brittany Walker with consideration of salary and/or benefit adjustment. Statutorily required notice to Ms. Walker regarding this meeting has been provided and acknowledged. A revised resolution is on the dais correcting the third whereas regarding the impetus of the raise from merit and cost of living to market adjustment. Ms. Walker has a presentation, after which please complete the evaluations. Then we recommend a short recess where we will accumulate the 4 council scores and derive a overall council score. And with that, I'll ask Ms. Walker.
Please.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council members. Brittany Walker, your City Attorney. I do want to begin by disclosing that I do have a pecuniary interest in this item as it may affect my compensation and/or benefits before I begin. So I'm pleased to present to you my annual report for the calendar year 23-24. The City Attorney's Office consists of myself, my paralegal, Bernadette Almeida, as well as a contracted city prosecutor. My paralegal, Bernadette, does an amazing job assisting my office. She prepares all the criminal cases for filing and trial. She responds to discovery requests, inquiries from the community, and conducts other research projects for myself. She recently even received a 5-star customer service rating from a law firm. I'll go into more detail about the prosecutor in a moment. Under Section 15 of the Boulder City Charter, I am charged with acting as legal advisor to the City Council and the other public officers, such as the City Clerk and City Manager. I'm also responsible for review of all the contracts and for prosecuting all violations of city ordinances. Major updates to contracts I've completed this past year. We drafted the Tract 350 land sale contract, which is currently being negotiated with Toll Brothers, that will provide funding for the new community pool. We updated our cell tower land lease to ensure that the city is best protected and that we're maximizing revenues through revenue share provisions when they lease with third parties. Contracts I'm in the process of updating. I'm in the process of updating our off-site improvement agreement. Also our construction agreement we enter into in response to RFPs, as our template RFP documents, and then all other contracts on behalf of the city. I review those and make sure that those terms sufficiently protect the city and have all the requirements that we need. In total, I've reviewed 397 contracts this year. That may seem impossible, but a lot of our contracts are template contracts. When I first started, updated our forms for the professional services and services agreements to make them more robust and have better provisions to better protect the city. And a lot of times when I'm reviewing, I'm just looking for key things, making sure the parties are correct, that the terms correct, compensation, major items are correct because the template language is there to protect us. Other contracts I edit heavily. Sometimes some companies won't agree to use our form, and they ask us to use their form, so we edit those to make sure that they don't have any provisions that could cause the city any issues in the future. I also oversee all litigation and claims that come through against the city. Pool Pact is our insurance company. They are a semi-public organization. They're made up of all the different entities, smaller rural entities in Nevada, all pool our resources together for this insurance product, and they provide that defense for us for your typical personal injury property damage claim. So that is typical car accidents, people get injured on city property. It is typical for the city to be sued. The Pool Pact defense attorneys, they have panel counsel, and they will defend those cases just for the deductible, which is $10,000. We currently have 2 personal injury claims. One is pending, one is closed. 7 property damages claims last year, 5 were closed without payment, and 1 is pending. And then there's 1 employment-related claim. Other claims that are not covered by the pool pact insurance policy include equitable claims or breach of non-employment contract claims. I am pleased to tell you that we do not have any of those outstanding, and so we have not needed to retain outside counsel for any litigation this past year. All of those claims have been settled thanks to City Council. Just to go over our outside counsel fees, this is a 6-year breakdown that just shows the amount that the city has spent over the years on outside counsel. The city uses outside counsel for a variety of things, labor and employment, real estate. Our prosecutor is considered outside counsel, and of course litigation. As you can see here by this chart, 2021 was an anomaly year. That was when I came into this position. The city had 5 pieces of litigation that Pool Pact did not offer coverage for, so the city had retained outside counsel, and as you can see, those fees are not inexpensive. So that's the anomaly year that you see there was 2021. Since then, our costs have leveled off as to more reasonable. This past year, I've utilized more outside counsel resources to help review our real estate contracts. Our solar and energy leases do provide a large portion of the city's revenue each year, and I thought it was really important that those get specialized outside attorney review to make sure that they well protect the city in the event of any issues that come down the line. We also updated those to include new revenue producing provisions such as battery storage fees, which didn't exist in the previous leases, and now we're able to monetize that between $1,800 and $2,000 per megawatt in capacity, which will generate millions of dollars in the future depending on, potentially millions of dollars in the future depending on what battery storage facilities are built. So that was a huge impact to the city, and really we saw that return on investment in hiring that outside counsel just right there. We've also used outside counsel for labor and employment issues. We did, as you know, went to arbitration with one of our bargaining units that was required use of outside counsel, and so those fees are somewhat higher than previous years. For future litigation, I'm pleased to say we have now a list of qualified firms that can represent us in the event that we are sued again, that are reputable and respected and will limit their fees to $220 per hour. And this is really huge because the reason why you see those really high fees is because some attorneys charge as much as $800 an hour for representation, which is sometimes necessary when the case is highly specialized and you need a certain legal expertise. But in most commercial general litigation cases, that's really not the case. And luckily, we have 2 firms here. So if in the event the city gets sued again and outside counsel is required, we will be able to limit those costs. I also am, again, responsible for overseeing all prosecution of municipal ordinance violations and state law misdemeanors. Last year, we had our former prosecutor, Gary Booker, retired, and so the city was in need of new prosecution services, and so we did a request for proposals for statement of qualifications on qualified attorneys that could provide those services. Mr. Thomas Moskal was the evaluation committee's pick. He was a former deputy district attorney for 7 years for the Clark County DA's office, specializing in DUI prosecution, and had an extensive experience with the recovery courts programs in Clark County, which was really huge for us as our recovery court program is so important to the community. So we've really enjoyed having Tom on our team. He's also brought training to the Boulder City Police Department, which was a service that my office didn't provide previously. So he's conducted a couple of trainings with the officers to bring them up to speed on latest Fourth Amendment search and seizure case updates, so that they are aware of the latest and greatest in that field, and so that they conduct any searches and seizures responsibly and in accordance with the most up-to-date law. And in conjunction with the city clerk's office, as she highlighted, I also am looking at updating all of our ordinances. I've reviewed or drafted 76 ordinances since March. That number is a little inflated because our ordinances are also include leases. So a lot of that was our airport leases that we recently changed, and then also just other updates. One I'd like to highlight is the public nuisance abatement update that brought a modernization to our code in that it allows for civil penalties rather than criminal. That is in line with most of the jurisdictions, the larger jurisdictions in Nevada, and that really is a better way to enforce any sort of public nuisance or property maintenance issue that comes up. So that was passed by council previously. Also on the agenda you'll have next week is updates to our animal breeding ordinance to bring us in line with state law and regulate animal breeding. The short-term rental prohibition clarification, and then I'm also in the process of updating our emergency operations ordinance, the liquor license code, and then updates to our subdivision code. Accomplishments, I've already highlighted some. Hiring Mr. Moskal for the prosecution's office has really modernized the prosecution in the court, and that's been very helpful. Everybody's been pretty pleased with Mr. Moskal's services, and he brings a wealth of experience from the DA's office that brought some new procedures and resources that we didn't previously know about that were very helpful. And I also provided legal advice and guidance for the successful negotiation and finalization of 7 out of the 8 labor contracts, although I would say 8 out of 8 because with the exception of wages for the 8th contract, the rest of the language was agreed to and finalized. And it was a really big accomplishment because we updated those contracts that hadn't been updated in over a decade and brought them up to date with current city practices and in a manner that was mutually agreeable to both the union and the city. I also brought forward the amended and restated ground leases for the hangars at the municipal airport toward a mutually agreeable solution, and you'll be seeing the rest of those leases later on this year. And with that, I'm available, the community involvement. I wanted to also highlight my training, continuing education. Every year I go to Tahoe and I attend the Public Lawyers Conference, which is a really valuable resource. Attorneys from all over the state, attorneys general, municipal attorneys, county attorneys, all attend this event, and they provide presentations on the latest in local government law, state law updates, employment and labor law updates. It's all very valuable, and I receive all of my continuing legal education credits from that one conference, which is very low cost as well. They only charge, it's about, I think, $50 to attend the conference itself, and then airfare and travel. So it's a really great value for the city and myself. I also attend quarterly meetings with the local government attorneys in Las Vegas, North Las Vegas, Henderson, and Clark County. We get together and just talk about the local issues that are facing our respective jurisdictions and make sure we keep in touch and are up to date on those things. I also like to participate in pro bono volunteer work. Before I came here, I was in the 100-hour club for Legal Aid of Southern Nevada. I provided services to the indigent and helped them with various issues, family law, immigration, things like that. As coming into this position and having a son, I wasn't able to do as much of that as I like to. But I did last year in partnership with the senior law program, and you'll see there in that picture I have some of my other city attorney friends from North Las Vegas and Henderson join me to do a will-a-thon at the senior center. So we helped the seniors with some of their estate planning issues, and that was really valuable, and I hope to do more events like that as over the next coming year. I also plan on having an extern in the summer. I had an extern last fall who proved to be very valuable to my office, provided a lot of research and different documents and things that I still use today, summaries of laws and things like that. And I will have a summer extern this year as well. My goals for the upcoming year, as the city clerk stated, I'm working with her to continue to update our municipal code. I want to revise our construction contracts and hopefully finalize the remaining labor contract, increase my community involvement, and then continue to collaborate with regional partners. So with that, I'm available for any questions.
Any questions?
I don't have one.
I'll start off, please. I'm happy to see the downward trend in hours and monies given to outside counsel, to the point where I think it's just a matter of our operational needs rather than, lawsuits. So I think that's great. That maybe is a reflection on the bigger picture of things, but still, it's a great trend, and I appreciate you highlighting that. I appreciate and we've discussed this in the past about the revenue generating contracts at the solar and energy production area in the El Dorado Valley, and limiting or creating the agreement to limit the hourly rate for outside counsel, which is a big deal, The question, you listed specifically that the contract, Mr. Moskal, the contract prosecutor, is handling criminal misdemeanors. And now with the modification or addition, if you will, of the civil, is that going to change his realm, the hours that he spends, the way he approaches it? He's going to pick that caseload up, right, just as a matter of course.
Yeah, it shouldn't change his responsibilities. In fact, if typically the property maintenance code violations, they rarely ever even escalated to a criminal citation. We get 99% voluntary compliance. We only write a criminal citation if the person just really won't cooperate. And typically, that's when it does get to the prosecutor's desk. So I don't see a ton changing with that move. I think the caseload, our caseload is primarily DUI, reckless driving, DV, trespass. Those are the main cases that we see, and those other criminal violations in our code we don't see as often because, again, our community tries to really look towards voluntary compliance before taking that step.
Great, thank you. You mentioned generally, some of the negotiations you're involved in. I'd like to point out specifically the critical negotiations that you're involved with, also with an outside counsel subject matter expert on the Southern Nevada Water Authority Cooperative Agreement and Major Capital and Construction Plan. A huge impact to Boulder City. And your participation, your expertise, and collaborating with our outside counsel and Pongratz there will be critical. And so far, we appreciate where you've been with that and how you will continue to protect the interests of Boulder City, and while being a good partner there and striking that balance. That's super important to the city. So. Thank you for that. I don't have any other questions, Mr. Mayor, so I'll yield the floor until we can give comments on the ratings.
Councilman Jorgensen?
Thank you. I think my question is about the Boulder City Municipal Code that I see that you have up there for reform, and it's been alluded to the fact that we've tried to find someone to help us to rewrite it and that we're struggling. I know that we had money set aside for that. Do you see yourself taking some of the most critical pieces and working on them by yourself, or how do we see this going through from this point?
Absolutely. I do think, so the city clerk mentioned that we did try to find someone to do the whole thing. That's really not realistic, like you said. But I do think we can make significant progress with just updating a few chapters right away, and those are on my list to work on. I'm already working on the liquor license code, which is, a lot of it hasn't been updated since 1969. So I'm working on that. I think the liquor license, business license code, those are huge pieces. The zoning ordinance is a huge piece too, but I think that that would be more appropriate for a consultant because there are tons of companies that specialize in writing zoning codes, and it's a highly specialized area of expertise as well. So I do think that would need a consultant, but that we do have money set aside for that in our budget, and I do plan on tackling those. The way I do tackle ordinance updates is I convene a working group with the department heads that the ordinance impacts, and I provide, well, we discuss what needs to change, what updates need to happen, because I'm not the subject matter expert. I'm not the one carrying out the intent of the ordinance per se. So I will get their input first, then I'll make the draft changes, then I send it around to everyone. We then have a working group. We all look at it. We see what else needs to be updated, and then that's when I bring it to council. So that's why it's a bit of a time-consuming process. There's a lot of people involved, but I do plan on updating those major pieces sooner rather than later, and I think that with those updates that the others can come later and in smaller batches. That those will be the main ones, the liquor license and business license, and anything else that, of course, council prioritizes. If council would like me to prioritize certain chapters, I can absolutely do that.
I also know that in the past, you had in your presentation that rewriting some of these contracts actually added to the bottom line for the city and being able to bring in more monies because of the clarification or the rewriting of the expectations. Have you had an opportunity this year also to engage in that, or has that happened this year?
Yeah, absolutely. With the rewrite of our cell tower lease, Henderson just rewrote theirs, so we use that as kind of some inspiration on our revenue share provisions, which help to maximize the revenue share we can seek from our cell towers. We are also looking at battery storage. There's some additional companies interested in battery storage, and there's other companies that are interested in various uses of city property too that have approached us, data centers, things like that. So we're looking at all that. Of course, that's all very pie in the sky. It hasn't gotten to a place to bring to council to discuss, but we will make sure that those agreements can monetize those types of businesses to the best of our ability.
And I'm sure we're not to the comment phase. There's probably more questions, but I will have comments after, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Booth?
I always wonder why we can't just go and, like, borrow Henderson's, one of their contracts, go and scrape their zoning and redo ours to match theirs almost, because ours are so outdated. So why can't we do that?
I borrow from Henderson quite a bit, and their attorneys are very helpful to me. They actually did provide their professional services and services agreements, and I modeled ours based off theirs. North Las Vegas, too, I have good relationships with their attorneys, and City of Las Vegas, too, really. All of the local governments, we all help each other, and they've provided their contracts and helped us to update ours. Our offsite improvement agreement, I'm looking at Clark County, North Las Vegas, Henderson, and Las Vegas to see what theirs has that ours doesn't and make sure that it has all those provisions.
Thank you.
Thank you. So what experience have you had in the past with legislative things that has helped you when you've come down to reality and the potholes are all local?
Before coming to the city, I did work 4 sessions at the Nevada State Legislature. 2 were for assembly leadership before I went to law school. And then after I worked at my previous law firm, Holland & Hart, I worked as a government affairs representative for 2 legislative sessions. And it absolutely has brought so much to this role. I represented government entities. I represented this Regional Transportation Commission. I had a great foundation for public records law and open meeting law and all of the purchasing, et cetera. But I think most valuable with that experience are the relationships that I have across the state. I've countless times reached out to people I've met through those roles and asked for some help for the city of Boulder City. And they have always been able to help different representatives from, the Attorney General's office to, the cities of Reno and other areas where those relationships have been helpful. Also at the legislative session, when we go there, I do represent the city and testify, and we worked to get our bill passed last session, and that was able to pass, and it was not an easy one. Redevelopment is controversial, so I think that helped there as well, my experience at the legislature.
And I appreciated the influence you've had in being able to call anybody across the state. It's invaluable for us. I appreciate that. I will say that when you use the word Lake Tahoe, no matter what you do there, you get no sympathy. So I don't know if that's a good slide in there or not, but I appreciate your wisdom and how you're able to get to the heart of things and be able to do that on the spot. And that has helped me personally as well as the council as a whole. So I appreciate that. Any other questions? If not, do you want to say anything else before we have Bryce come up?
I just love my job, and I love the city of Boulder City.
Okay, go ahead.
I just want to make a comment on past questions. First off, thank you for doing Senior Center Will-a-thon and for bringing it local here and donating your time and thinking of something that I think is actually really probably well-received, first off, and needed. So thank you for doing that. To parrot what Council Member Walton said, it's very nice to see outside council's numbers coming down. I know that's a product of litigation being resolved, some of that, but I think you've been more conscientious, and I appreciate that. I really do, and I want you to know that I noticed that. In the summer extern program, that's taken on a little extra, but I think that it goes along with bringing people in to experience our city and to move forward to possibly doing what you do and helping to train the next generation. So thank you for doing that. And also updating RFP processes, because I can see that that is something that I think that would help us as a city. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Jorgensen. If not, anything else you want to say, we'll have Mr. Wolf come up and tell us what to do.
Well, at this time, if you can score the evaluation, then I'll take them back, come up with the cumulative city council score, and be right back, and then you can discuss, if you'd like, compensation and benefits.
Okay, we will do our scores and give them to Mr. Bolt and take a recess now. Thank you. It all depends on you. Welcome back to our special city council meeting for Boulder City. Mr. Bolt?
Good. This is a little bit simpler than the last one relative to compensation and retro and things of that nature. Effective July of '23, City Attorney Walker's salary increased by 3%. Also effective in July of '23, there was a contribution rate increase from the Nevada Public Employees Retirement System, which in effect reduced her salary by 1.875. All right, I'll let Ms. Walker answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Any questions of Mr. Bolt before he bolts?
What was that, sir?
Somebody may have a question for you.
Okay,
What was the score?
the mayor has
Oh,
that.
the mayor's going to announce that. Okay.
So her score, and if you're interested, 4.01. So if we say she got a raise 3%, and that was a CPI,
Yes, sir.
and so she has not had a merit raise, but the CPI was what everybody else got, either 2 to 3%.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then after she got that raise, then her PERS take out of her salary went down 1.875.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so she in essence had a raise of, you can do the math quicker than I can, about a 1.1% raise, 1.25.
Yeah, so we have to do the math, 3 minus 1.875.
Okay. So
About
anybody
1
have
point.
any questions for Mr. Bolt? Go ahead.
So did she not get a CPI? I know before that we were talking with the contract for the city clerk, that she did not get an increase of CPI to compensate for the increase, what they were talking about, the increase, or a PERS. So did she not get CPI in 2023?
Councilwoman, I can answer this question for you. So in Ms. Walker's contract, her CPI language was effective July 2023. So she did receive that 3% CPI index increase, and then had the PERS decrease like all other regular employees. So her effective increase at that time was 1.125%. So today, the logical next step is just considering a merit increase.
So we've been around this block before, so it comes down pretty simple. Her evaluation was 4.01 cumulative evaluation. And so the question for us is, how do we feel about what we call a merit increase? And would you like to say anything? You would like to say something?
I'll defer to council on any merit increase. I did get the 1.125 that the others didn't get, so maybe factor that in.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for?
And what?
Go ahead.
What would you like to receive as a merit? Would you feel that you would like to see?
I really defer to council on what's appropriate. That based on the score, probably at least 1% would be nice. I think that would be, I would appreciate that. Oh.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have.
Go ahead.
So based on the score and based on the fact that it's what all of the employees who did get a CPI last year got a decrease effectively, if you want to call it that, because of the increase in PERS, because of that. So you're saying you did get the increase that they didn't end up getting. I mean, and we were looking between 2 and 3-ish. I mean, 2, I mean, 1, I would consider to be possibly a little low. I would say 2 would be,
Is that a motion?
unless we want to have more discussion.
I just wanted to say, most of the employees that if they had the 4, they got 1%. But again, we gave Tammy more, so myself, I'd like to see a little more than 1%, but I don't think 3 would, it would merit 3.
Councilman?
I'm going to come off the top ropes and make a motion that we give the city attorney a 2% merit increase, and she will, by a natural occurrence, receive the 2 to 3% CPI come July, right? So that's my motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I have a little bit. And I wrote this on everybody's rating. I don't know if you're going to receive the comments that we gave, Mr. Bolden. Okay. And so when we rate them, I wrote it on everybody's. But, 5 is the benchmark, right? That's the top shelf, performing at the highest level. Really very little, if any, room for improvement. And we all have room for improvement, right? So along that journey, there's a variety of scores that we give. The tool isn't my favorite, but hey, it's what we have. So just a couple comments that I added to this. I appreciate that you've, most importantly, among all the other comments that have been made that I agree with, you've established trust with council. That's a big deal, right? And that's not an easy thing. There's a lot of missteps that can occur along the journey, intentional or unintentional, right? And I, at least speaking for myself, have faith in your capability and your thoroughness of your understanding of your job and what it all entails. So, thank you. And I'll make a comment here. We've had this conversation along the journey. I often look at a lot of the details and nuances and, hey, does this agenda item, is it complete? Do we understand everything about it in order to consider it on the agenda for a council meeting? And some of them we've realized during the briefings, not enough. Let's pull it. And so I would just make the comment, let's, all, and you have a role in that, make sure that all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted. So a little bit of more, opportunity to get the details fleshed out there, maybe in advance or as staff is working on it, so that we don't get something that needs to be pulled kind of last minute. That happens, regardless of all the preparation that can be done. Sometimes unanticipated things come up. But that's the only, other than just generally we can all get better, right, and improve. That's a specific thing that I wanted to add. And know that you're fully aware and capable of adjusting there. And it's a matter of time, right? We all have limited time. I know that all the things that you listed draw on the availability of what you have to do. So, and with my comment in that the 5 is, the benchmark, anything below that doesn't indicate poor performance. It's just opportunities for improvement, right? And to self-reflect and to set goals for going forward. So I just wanted to be positive and specific in that particular comment, but also point out, you can't put value on trust and faith and capability that the product we're going to get, especially from our city attorney, is capable and thorough, and I can't overstate it. Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
I'd just like to add to that, that 4.0 is above average, and that average being a 3.0, and that I've seen growth. I've seen a lot of growth, and in just a year's worth of time, and echo again what Councilman Walton is saying, is that we know that we can come to you. We know that you have our best interest and the city's best interest at heart, and that you are diligent in trying to find answers for us and solutions. I've watched you actually grow specifically in the area of, how would you say that? Compromise, even. Which is right, which is hard sometimes, I think. And I've watched you be able to look, because sometimes when you create your work, it's your baby. So if someone says, "Can we have a different baby?" You're like, "No, this one's beautiful. Please don't touch my baby." So, but I have watched you say, "Okay, let's talk about it," and I've seen such a difference even in a year's worth of time. So thank you for what you do. It's appreciated.
Anything else? I appreciate what you're doing, and I just am thrilled that I've got all that legislative contacts that you have. That is invaluable to us in the city of Boulder City, so I appreciate what you're doing. We have a motion on the floor of a 2% raise and a second, is that correct? And is there any other discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. It is unanimous. Those present, thank you very much. Appreciate your service. We will move to item 3. Mr. Bolt?
Administrative Services Officer. The third item on today's agenda is for possible action pertaining to the performance evaluation of City Manager Taylor Tedder with consideration of salary and/or benefit adjustments. The statutory required notice to Mr. Tedder regarding this meeting has been provided and acknowledged. A revised resolution is on the dais correcting the third whereas regarding the impetus of the increase from merit and cost of living to market. Mr. Tedder has a presentation, after which please complete the evaluations, and we'll average the 4 scores and then present it to you. With that, Mr. Tedder.
Thank you, Mr. Bolt. Mr. Mayor, council members, I'm Taylor Tedder, your city manager. First, I do need to disclose pursuant to NRS 281A that I do have a pecuniary interest in this item as it may affect my compensation or benefits. So today I'll be providing my performance presentation and share with you and the public a little bit about my responsibilities, a high-level overview of the accomplishments in each department, what I and our team have accomplished over the past year, and my goals for the future. So first, what does the city manager do? So providing leadership, vision, and focusing on results, carrying out the policy set by the city council. And I also supervise all the departments in the day-to-day operations of the city and focus on recruiting top talent and retaining our existing capable workforce. Budget is another large item that I focus on, especially the preparation of that every fiscal year, the execution of the budget, aligning with the city council and community's needs and priorities, and then ensuring that staff stay within that budget throughout the year. Another crucial part of my responsibilities is communication, whether that's with residents, existing and prospective businesses, and our community partners and stakeholders that the organization's constantly interacting and working with. I also have a hand in assisting in preparation of council meeting materials that I review and review that for accuracy and information. And again, communication is key to success for all involved in this process. So here's our current organizational chart. I do have the 10 immediate direct reports, including all of our directors, and then the communications manager and my executive assistant. Of the 357 total employees, 198 of those are full-time as of today, and 159 are part-time. I regularly interact with various community stakeholders that I'd like to highlight several here on the slide. I don't want to read all of them off, but I do make myself available to meet with residents regularly, nonprofits, LVGEA. I do a lot of different speaking engagements with them. I've partnered with the Chamber of Commerce on a variety of initiatives. This is the only picture that I reused from my presentation last year because I love the picture of both the mayor and I smiling in the legislature, and it was just a great experience to go with him. And we work regularly with Glenn Levitt at the Nevada League of Cities, and thank him for all his assistance, among all of the other organizations on the screen. So one of the things that I focus a lot on is employee relations. So this past year, we had 2 key hires that I made, our new finance director and our Parks and Recreation director. We did both of those recruitments in-house. We updated our personnel policy to make sure that it aligned with all of the various changes to state law and best practices. And I also implemented a merit pool system for the non-represented exempt personnel in financial year 24, which has been working out well, tying that directly to performance. Employee reviews and evaluation. I do regularly evaluate my employees and provide performance goals and measures, as well as my feedback to my 10 direct reports. This year was our first full year that we experienced the new Employee of the Quarter recognition. So instead of just having that one Employee of the Year, we had an Employee of the Quarter every quarter. So we had 4, and then the one Employee of the Year was selected from those Employees of the Quarter. We've continued to focus on developing our management team's rapport and through goal setting sessions. So the communication between the departments and having a cohesive team has been a huge focus. And through all of these efforts, everyone is on the same page and sharing crucial information with each other. And I'm happy to report that the communication among the departments is better than ever at this time. We've continued our employee and volunteer picnic and appreciation events, which continues to show our support of what a wonderful job our employees do on a daily basis. I still, my door is always open to any employees, residents, and of course council members that need to come by. I try to stay approachable and accessible to all. And again, our executive team is sharing their monthly status updates with all of the other department heads through a SharePoint drive, and that has also been helpful so all the other departments know of the street projects that Public Works is working on and so forth. So again, communications is a huge part of my role, and as you know, there's many ways to get a hold of me as I try to keep you as informed as possible through email, phone, and text. We have our agenda briefings before each council meeting to ensure that surprises are limited and providing an opportunity to share detailed information and answer your questions. The bi-monthly report, so that goes out twice a month and continues to update you on all of the various departments of the city. And I do want to give a big special thanks to Crystal Bias, my executive assistant, for all of her efforts. She works really hard on the bi-monthly report, putting that all together for me, as well as just keeping the communication flowing through my office, so thank you to her. And then we also have the city manager's report that's placed in the council agenda monthly, providing that detailed look at where we're at in our budget and where we're going. And then I also send out status updates to you, notable meetings, things of that nature via email, and our one-on-one meetings. So I do meet with all of you monthly and the mayor weekly and try to keep you as updated as possible. So relations with residents. We just completed our 30th episode of the Tedder Talks YouTube series. It does get fairly good views, but I can't compete with the Ram Cam. So I recently spoke to Sunrise Rotary and the Romeo Group, and I was just invited once again to speak at the Las Vegas Global Economic Alliance's State of Economic Development event on their regional economic development panel of local governments. So I've done that the last 2 years and excited to do it again in about a month. I am continuing to participate in community events, the various parades, and a member of Sunrise Rotary. And have continued to garner resident feedback through our various town halls, like on the dog park, wastewater reuse, the short-term rentals, and strategic plan initiative, as well as our surveying. This past year, I implemented 2 city manager working groups, the ADA working group and the airport working group, and we're working on receiving final recommendations from both of those groups so that I can come back to you and see if we can make some policy changes related to those 2 different important topics. I've had the pleasure of writing an editorial column in the Boulder City Review off and on the past year, and continue to meet with people, of course. So moving on to policy execution. So this year we were really excited when we completed the annexation of over 2,500 acres in the El Dorado Valley in an effort in the works for over a year to not only protect our beautiful valley view, but to solidify our city's boundaries, leaving no unincorporated land between Boulder City and Henderson, and the city's now 212 square miles, where we're still the largest city in the state. Meetings with community stakeholders. I do regularly meet with various stakeholders, such as the Nevadans for Common Good, the Chamber of Commerce, City Board Commission committee members, to name a few, our hospital community resource liaison, as well as comparable city managers and the county manager in the other area municipalities. Our utilities rate study. So last year we identified the need for the rate study sooner than planned, and Raftel has completed that study. And through the council and utility advisory committee's changes that were requested, that was ultimately approved in this past year. We are focused on completing the American Rescue Plan Act projects, especially the biggest project, the Municipal Golf Course Irrigation Reconstruction Project. We're nearing a point where we are ready to present options to you here in a council meeting next month. We've identified, recommended, and received approval by you to redirect funds to projects in the ARPA spend plan that could be completed quicker. So by the end of 2024, we will have to have all of those allocations solidified, but we are on track to spend all of the funds by the end of 2026, and we have made a major dent in the $21.8 million that we've received. Some really fun and useful technology projects that we've implemented recently. So Data Voice, this is the utility outage management system. So this is specifically for the electric utility. So people will be able to go online and see an outage map. It is online now. We're currently working on a public information campaign to get the word out to people. And this will also limit the time that our public safety dispatchers take fielding calls for power outages. So people will be able to call this specific line, they'll be able to report the power outage there, and then it will dispatch the electrical lineman to go where the outage is. So the system actually will predict what place to start for the maintenance or repair. So that's really exciting for our utilities department. Another really big piece of software that we implemented early this year is called CityWorks, and this is in our effort to continually improve our permitting process for contractors and developers and businesses who are making changes to their properties. So this way, all of our people who have to approve the different pieces of the plans are able to see where it is in the process, how we can speed it up, and how we can help. So communicating with the people that submitted the plans, and they're also able to see where it is in the process. And then in our community development department, for economic development purposes and tracking tourism, we've implemented a lower cost software than we were previously using called Placer AI. So this tracks visitors in our communities. We're able to see how many visitors we had for the Spring Jamboree, for 4th of July, for Art in the Park. And it actually uses cell phone tracking data to do that through third-party applications that people have on their phone. So it's able to see where they're from and how long they've been here, and so it's really interesting statistics. Moving on, so customer service excellence. We've implemented a customer service survey. So any interaction that someone has with the city, either in our email signature or at the windows that they go to here in City Hall, there's QR codes and a link where people can take a customer service survey. And we're finally getting to the point where we're getting a really steady stream of those. So I am going to include soon in the bi-monthly report, start reporting out those statistics of how many we're receiving, how many are positive, negative, and how many we're able to change from a negative to a positive situation. So that's been a really big priority of mine to continue instilling that customer service excellence culture just among the organization and all of the departments. Facility improvements, we finished the upgraded security measures at Animal Control. We finished the ADA upgrade and refurbishment of this room. And then the bathrooms and break room remodel is moving along swimmingly and will be completed in just over a month. And then our parking lot is slated for reconstruction later this year. And the accreditation of the fire department has been a really exciting accomplishment. We're now the 310th fire department in the world to receive the Center for Public Safety Excellence accreditation under my leadership. And 12% of the United States population is protected by an accredited agency. And it is a constant improvement model, so they do have to continue this. It's not a one and done. It's once you dedicate to it, you have to keep improving. So talking a little bit about fiscal management, we do have the 8 bargaining units, and all except one are completed, and we're currently in active negotiations with the Teamsters electrical unit on that. The financial year 25 budget process, we've been working heavily on that, and we're almost to the point of coming to you with our initial budget presentation. My goal since arriving in Boulder City was to make the budget process more collaborative among the department heads. Recently, we all met together to attempt to balance the upcoming budget collaboratively, looking at individual budgets and how those could give and take to allow pressing needs to move forward. So I look forward continuing that in our budget discussions. Speaking of transparency, I've been really proud of our finance department and how accessible our financial information is to the public. So we have the ClearGov budget books, and then we also have the public-facing portals like Socrata, where you can see our online checkbook and every expense that the city has in real time. And it makes us one of the most transparencies I've seen. And we're continuing to look for new ways to make the information more organized and accessible to the public. And with our website refresh, we were also able to make things a little bit easier to find and more accessible to the public through fewer clicks. The ARPA funds, we are continuing to upgrade our critical wastewater and water infrastructure quicker than we would have without the funds. I'll move on from that. The city did receive the prestigious Triple Crown Award from the Government Finance Officers Association again this year, so that's the second time we've gotten that. And that makes us one of 317 municipal organizations, the top 1% of all local governments in the nation to receive such an honor. So to me, that's truly a testament of the excellent work that our finance staff is doing. We've also secured a burn grant for the police department, and this was for additional vehicles, grant funded, so very excited about that. The Dark Skies grant, we've been making progress on that, meaning that we can have the consistent, aesthetically pleasing, operational street lighting system. And I'm excited to bring that uniformity and consistency to our street lighting system. And we have completed many of the Cobra Head conversions throughout the community, specifically on Veterans Memorial Drive, Adams, Buchanan, and have a plethora of residential head samples on the 600 block of Otono in Del Prado neighborhood, which will be advertised to the local community on social media in the coming days. We just got the final 2 polls up, so very excited about that to hear everyone's feedback. The updated pool financing plan was created to account for the ballot question to the voters to use the funds that are already on hand in the voter-approved capital improvement fund. And through that, we can potentially accelerate the construction of the pool, looking at the timing of the sale of Track 350. So city staff as a whole generates cost savings in the millions throughout the year. I wanted to just focus on some areas that I personally have contributed to saving the city money as well. So through cross-shopping and right-sizing of vehicles, going from perhaps a F-350 to an F-150, we were able to create $82,000 in savings on purchase of new city vehicles by just right-sizing those vehicles. And another thing that I was excited to learn, so we purchased 5 electric vehicles for the police department as a pilot program under the ARPA funds, so those were no cost to us. Over the past year, those 5 vehicles have driven about 56,000 miles in total. And the cost of charging those 5 vehicles for 56,000 miles was $988. So there were also no maintenance costs, and the cars averaged about 3.4 kilowatt hours per mile. So that leads us to about $13,000 in savings just from gas and a little bit of maintenance savings. So I was excited about that. It was interesting statistics. And then we also reduced some unneeded software that the city was subscribing to that we were able to change out to other softwares, and identifying work that could be done in-house without outside design services, and providing direction for identification of savings and adjustments, requiring those specialized skills to be completed in-house, saving over $237,000. And then finally, the 2 recruitments that we did for finance and parks and recreation directors, we didn't utilize consultants. So historically, the city had used a headhunter for those, and we've been doing them in-house and successfully completed those. Moving on to our new strategic plan. So Boulder City established a strategic plan in 2018, which we were successful in completing the 5 goals, achieving prudent financial stewardship, investing in infrastructure, managing growth and development, promotion of historic preservation, and sustaining a high level of public safety services. In June 2023, staff issued an RFP for a new strategic plan. 17 companies responded. We were able to select the new consultant, Emergent Method, in September. And then in March 5th, our online survey that we held closed. And yesterday was the first community workshop held at the Smith Building. And then we have 2 more upcoming on March 21st and March 25th. And then April 1st is the first workshop with the City Council, which I'm really excited about to hear your feedback and direction. And of course, the QR code, if anyone's watching, you can learn more there. I'm just going to briefly highlight some of the departments quickly in the interest of time. So Boulder City does employ 39 sworn officers and more than a dozen support staff. We have our own 911 dispatch center that handles the calls for both police and fire. Notably, the police department has sustained their staffing levels thanks to their recruiting and retention efforts, which other agencies across the country are struggling to do. So I'm excited about that. We also are still maintaining our lowest crime rate in the state. And then our co-location to the National Park Service, we've always planned on this being at the start of April. We do have one technology issue and one other issue that we're trying to work out, but I am confident we'll be transitioning over there very soon, and we've identified solutions on that. We're very excited for our dispatchers to work in that state-of-the-art facility, improving their quality of life. So again, the fire department, I already talked about the accreditation, but they also were honored by the Nevada Taxpayers Association and the Cashman family, being selected as the Community Risk Reduction Program as one of 6 finalists for the 25th Silver Anniversary Good Government Award. And we won the category Cities Under 100,000 Population. And our community CPR AED program did place 43 automatic external defibrillators, AEDs, every 300 feet inside businesses throughout the community. So if someone's having a cardiac event, they're able to get help and get help fast. The locations of each of those AEDs are documented and given to the dispatch center, as well as placed on PulsePoint, which is a CPR AED app that's used across the country. And we've also provided free CPR AED classes to businesses, whether they have one or not. And then this year, we are working on building a new training facility, which will keep our crews in town, and that gives us better service for those in need of emergency services while they're training. And then, of course, our biggest opportunity for this next year with the fire department will be identifying an alternative location to build Fire Station 122, as the utilities costs ended up being too high, multi-million-dollar high, with the quartzsite location. So our Public Works Department, they have been very busy completing several major projects, including our new dog park at Veterans Memorial Park, the facility remodel for Lend a Hand, which turned out wonderfully, the city facility renovations, and the ABC Park sanitary sewer rehabilitation, as well as our street projects, including Golf Course Estates, which is nearing completion. They've also streamlined the permitting process by refining Title IX and updating chapters within Title 39 of the City Code in collaboration with the community development staff and the City Attorney's Office. And the department has utilized several outside funding sources and continuing to bring in more project design, inspections, and construction management in-house to save money. And then they are continuing to work on ARPA projects as well as our utilities department to get those funds spent. And then our finance department, so in our effort to increase transparency of the city's finances, we did come out with that new quarterly financial health publication showing where we're at on our revenues and expenses in a more easily digestible format. And then, of course, with the Triple Crown designation, we also received the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting, the Popular Annual Financial Reporting Award, and the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award. And we're continuing to look for new and diversified revenues, in which battery storage, of course, utilizing smaller parcels in the El Dorado Valley could be another area of revenue among looking at our investments. Administrative services, so this is three different areas, IT, human resources, and the airport. So related to information technology, we've been upgrading all of our security and compatibility, working on upgrading our servers, and our vendor that handles all of our help desk and things of that nature. We transitioned to a West Coast team that they acquired, so we're able to be more productive with them working similar hours that we are. So on the airport, we addressed the first rounds of hangar leases and continue to work on receiving appraisals of the parcels of land for RFP in the future. Those should be coming to you soon. And we've been working to identify a way to bring Skydive back to the airport, and the city-owned hangar appraisal is also underway. And then, of course, Human Resources handles all of the new hires and paperwork and processes a lot of different personnel action forms. Moving on to our Community Development Department, so they played a big role in that annexation that was completed, but they've also completed all of the action items contained in our Economic Development Plan and leveraged state resources to promote historic preservation efforts in Boulder City. They are going to continue to work on the implementation of improving our permit processing and reducing our review times, which are coming down, but we want to see them come down a little bit further. And continuing, since Boulder City's the home to Lake Mead and Hoover Dam, we have so many other attractions that draw so many tourists to our community every year. And ensuring that those visitors know where to go, we've updated all of our wayfinding signage to introduce this new tourism QR code where people can find local restaurants, shops, parks, and more to help support our local economy and businesses. And it's updated in real time. So once you put up a stationary sign, those names could be outdated tomorrow, but this can be updated daily. And it is kept updated, and we're really excited about it and have gotten some really positive comments from the businesses. Our Economic Development Coordinator, Rafi Festekjian, has also teamed up with the Chamber to get these out to the businesses, so I really appreciate all of his efforts as well. We've also added on Google and Apple Maps all of the city parking lots, so people know where to go to park. We do have a lot of parking lots, but people didn't know where they were. And last night I actually received an email from Google telling me that one of the parking lot locations we placed in that has exceeded over 10,000 views and clicks through people looking for public parking since it was listed a few months ago. So that's pretty promising. The Parks and Recreation Department, they've successfully integrated the recreation software system RecDesk into our operations. So this allows busy parents and patrons to sign up online for programs and services rather than making a trip into the office. And this is another one of those efforts that we've tried organizationally, organization-wide, making sure that people can access services 24/7 online and don't have to come in to sign up for something or pay a bill. They've also enhanced the Hemingway Park through the completion of the trail system and the installation of the RamCam, which continues to have record view numbers on YouTube. It is the most watched thing we have on our YouTube channel. But City Council and then the Tedder Talks are close seconds, I think. Or far down seconds, maybe. We've also achieved another milestone by increasing the number of golf rounds played and the corresponding revenue from those green fees. And they do continue to work on the turf reduction and irrigation replacement project at the municipal course, which will have a huge public information component to it as a measure to conserve water and meet the golf course water budgets. And then last but not least, we did have the national recruitment for the new Parks and Rec director, and the successful candidate was actually one of our own. So Julie Calloway was promoted from Parks and Recreation manager to director, and so it really does show that strong succession planning can work, and people can gain the skills they need to continue their career with the city. So we're really lucky to have Julie, and wish Roger well for his 46 years with the city. The Communications Division, they've continued to upgrade the council chamber video cameras and switchers, and we're working now to update the lighting so that we can get a better light on the council and all of the microphones, and so we can have better sound, as well as with the conference phone, so that people calling in, we can hear that a little bit better. And then, of course, it is hard to come into City Hall for everyone with just so much going on in their lives. So we did redesign our website with that in mind. It was a 7-month effort to simplify the navigation and make it easier to access for everyone and easier to read and less clicks to find things. They've also created dozens of high-quality videos in addition to the one you saw today for social media and broadcasting on BCTV. And our social media has grown on average 15% per platform this past year, and our subscribers on YouTube grew more than 400% due to the RamCam. So I am a huge proponent of professional development, and I was really glad to hear the positive comments on the High Performing Leadership Academy. We also did send 3 other department heads and managers to that program, and I'm hopeful that we can send more people to that program as the budget and schedules allow. It's really meaningful, and I'm glad that we're able to get that kind of exposure for our team here. As a certified economic developer through the International Economic Development Council, I do have to continue certain educational activities. So I did attend the Certified Economic Developers exam last year and served as a proctor for the exam. And then I also served this year at the Leadership Summit as a co-instructor of a 2-long-hour ethics workshop at the IEDC Leadership Summit. And that was actually provided to the top leaders in economic development in the nation because that meeting coincides with the board meeting of that group. So it was all of their top people, and it was a really fun thing to lead. I've also attended the ICMA conference and the Nevada League of Cities conference that was hosted here in town. And then again, last year, April, I received the credentialed manager designation and will continue maintaining that. So you do have to do a multi-rater tool where you have subordinates and other people throughout the organization, as well as my bosses have to participate in that process. So it's every 5 years you have to complete that. So I don't have to do it quite yet, but it will be coming soon. And it does show to our community, I believe, that I'm committed to maintaining the highest standards that the city manager's profession has to offer. So our utilities department does wonderful work over our electric, water, wastewater, and landfill, and they've also been responding to the drought. As a community, we use 22% less water over the last 2 years in our consumption. And as previously mentioned, our outage management system is live on the website, and we are launching that public information campaign. They've received the American Public Power Association Certificate of Excellence and Reliability Award, showing our customers that our utility is among the top in the nation rated in reliability. And then we also have a new water and electric consumption dashboard on the website, so you can go on there in real time and see what our consumption has been on electric and water over the past month or year, or however long you want to customize it for. And Boulder City was one of the first cities in Southern Nevada to adopt the Water Authority's latest water conservation members. So we are currently still underway on the feasibility studies for either returning our water to Lake Mead or reusing it in the community. We have scheduled an update on the progress of those for next month, so I'm excited to hear more on that, to update you. And the city recently unveiled our rebates for the smart irrigation controllers with rain sensors, but the Water Authority has also upped the incentive to convert turf to $5 per square foot. So we're trying to promote that as well as a good community partner. And then I just wanted to highlight some of our high-profile projects, including the Aquatic Center and Tract 350. So as you know, we had SCA Design update their cost estimate for the new pool, and based on that cost, with design, inflation, construction management, and contingency, the new estimate is over $36 million for just that base level pool, and the old estimate was around $27 million. So the new funding plan to make the pool a reality with that ballot question, utilizing the existing voter-approved capital improvement fund funds currently on hand, will assist in that. And in the next city manager's report, you will see an updated pool document. And then we're also bringing an item to you soon related to creation of a special fund specifically for the pool, so all of the funds are in one place. The Nevada State Railroad Museum expansion approvals continue with this. Boulder City did receive more than $23 million for this visitor center as part of a capital bill that was passed by the state legislature in 2023. Once built, it will allow the museum to hold programming and educational initiatives with a hands-on exhibit, classroom for visiting students, and a research archive. The railroad road construction is starting this month, and that's led by our Public Works Department. So we're also very excited to see that move forward. Talking a little bit about goals for the future. So, of course, the new city pool is a big priority. Toll Brothers has been working with staff, and their land sale contract is nearing completion, so we're hoping to move forward on that soon. We're continuing to retain and attract high-quality staff, so I want to make sure that we remain competitive with our pay, benefits, and a supportive workplace so that they can thrive here. I also want to continue strengthening our working relationships with area partners. While we have great relationships as it is, we can always improve those and make sure that we're working together regionally on issues. Continuation of our water conservation efforts, following through on the municipal course and other areas of alternative landscaping to make sure that we are doing our part. I'd also like to move forward on a coordinated plan for our city facilities and uses of those. With several new members of the Public Works staff, I'd like to leverage their expertise to form that plan and look at what we're doing with underutilized facilities and ensure that our public funds are put to good use in the facilities that could be used at their highest and best use rather than perhaps sitting vacant and things of that nature. I also want to further enhance our communication within all city departments to residents, and I do plan to keep up the amount of communication that we've been doing so far. I'd like to move forward on implementing a plan developed to revise our departmental structure, and that would optimize our structure to ensure our service delivery and workflow is the most effective level possible. I want to continue supporting staff in their professional development endeavors. No one's ever done learning, and encouraging that will really, I think, help our staff continue to grow. I'd also like to work to identify further cost savings in citywide expenses and continuing our customer service excellence culture, implementing training and team building techniques to make sure that we can take those lessons learned from the surveys and turn them into every interaction with the city a positive one. Of course, another big goal is spending all of the ARPA funds by December 31st, 2026, and that is on everyone's mind. And finally, I want to continue the excellent communication efforts with the city council, residents, businesses, and community partners, because communication is key, and with telling our story and sharing successes and project statuses to everyone. So again, thank you so much. I truly take pride in leading our team here and exceptional staff in Boulder City. It's such a special place, and I appreciate the support and insight I receive from you, and feel privileged to serve as your city manager. So I'm here to stand for any questions, and thank you.
Any questions?
I think we can all take a collective breath. Oh, man. Just hearing it, I'm tired. I don't have any questions. I just wanted to throw that out there. Amen to what you just said.
Cookie, you tried to get there.
I'm shocked. No, I just want to say, great job. I think really one of the important things to me is instilling to be courteous to the people that walk through the door, and that we're the best little town in, I think, the whole world, and that is relayed through this city hall. So thank you for doing that. I think you've really put a real big dent in that. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. In interest of time and as quickly as I can, I just want to say thank you for your community outreach to the residents. Thank you for always responding to calls and emails that are sent. I know from myself, and I'm sure other council members can say the same, that you do look into everything and you do send me to the right places. And I know I myself am appreciative, because then I can pass it on to our community peoples who are concerned, and our residents. Love the outreach with Tedder Talk. And now I heard someone calling you Teddy because of it, but that's okay. Love the idea of working groups. ADA, airport, those are things outside the scope that really are going out of our way to be able to solve maybe some concerns, and then implement some strategies to just make things function better. So I so appreciate that. I cannot tell you how important it is, even if only 5 people show up, that we continue to have workshops and surveys, and we field calls, because really we're serving this community, and hopefully they recognize that and will come out in a little bit greater force to be able to give some of their thoughts and feelings on that. So just thank you. I appreciate everything you do.
Would it be possible, Mr. Reagan came down here to make a comment about Mr. Teddy? And I just wondered if it'd be okay for him to come up and make a comment. No, can't do that? He missed he missed our public comment. Thank. Oh, there's another one. You'll get your opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. The vibrant nature of Boulder City right now is amazing. to the point where when I go out with the city manager, people recognize him and then I have to be introduced. It's a great experience to have so many people appreciate the service that you're rendering to the community and have team members who are not just talking with each other, but actively involved in the process that we call public service from the top down. So I am just thrilled with the honors and the accolades you get from out of town. Your recognizability, if that's a word, but I love the renaissance feeling that we have in Boulder City, and it is largely due to all of the things that you are doing. I just wonder what you do in your spare time. But that's an open-ended question. I appreciate your service. Any other questions? Do you have anything that you would like to say on your behalf as to what we would want to do, should do, could have done, as far as anything that you would feel you deserve?
So essentially, I did receive the PERS decrease, the 1.875 in July. So I would ask for that to be a retroactive, to bring me back to where I was at this time last year, and then depending on what my score is, I think that would dictate the merit.
Any questions? So, Mr. Bolt, you want to collect our evaluations? Thank you.
Thank you.
Take a recess.
We are in recess. That's just me.
You want to go home and have dinner? No, no dinner for me.
Welcome back from recess on our special city council meeting tonight, and appreciate our city manager, who has given us a long list of accomplishments and goals and attitudes. Appreciate him. The official composite of performance evaluation was 4.53. Which is closer to 5 than it is to 4, the way I do math. And having said that, any comments or things that you would like to say?
Now I have comments, if I can.
Yes, please.
You know, if we make the comparison of trying to spin plates and keep them all spinning and not let any of them fall, you're the champion. You really have brought an energy and a way, a demeanor of interacting with the public that I don't think I've ever seen. And so kudos to you for that. I don't know that if the mayor was joking or not, but it's believable that the community recognizes and appreciates you as much as anybody. And if they don't, it's because they don't know. They should. And I'm not going to regurgitate everything you said because it was so extensive, but everything was right on the mark. A couple of specific comments. Again, 5 is where we're all aiming, right? As I've seen the statement, I'll leave it. It's better to aim for the stars and miss than to aim for the manure pile and hit it. And so, 5 is where we're aiming, right? And we're so close in so many ways. And even there, I would say, in a lot of things. But there's opportunities to look for improvement. I will say that of all the things that we do, and a lot of your goals we'll probably see included in the strategic plan. And action items, given out to the various departments, or some reserved for your work within that. But the budget and finance that you oversee with collaboration with our new finance director is right on the money. And I have seen the improvement in ease of understanding for the public. We've been publishing it for a while, but it's always been kind of trying to put pieces of the puzzle together and gathering them from different places and trying to recognize how they fit. And you've done a good job of making it far more easy for the layperson and those of us on council to see and to get the picture more clearly. And to be a good steward of that. We are spending money as a community, but we're spending money within the means that we have. And while somebody could go, well, man, your expenses have increased by X amount and X amount. Well, the world has charged us more by X amount and X amount. So fortunately, there's been a lot of leadership and vision over the years. And we're really beneficiaries of all the hard work that's been done for many years to put us in a position where, as the fact finder recently said in a report we have, that the city has financial stability and the ability to manage, all the costs that we have. And it's to your leadership and to your stewardship over that. Thank you. And on, right? I could go on and on. I really appreciate that. A couple specific things I'm going to point out that I'd like to see that. I appreciate the fact that you mentioned that we're now receiving more customer service survey. That was a hole there. I was wondering, well, I haven't seen any reports. I haven't seen a summary on that. So are we not getting any back? Do we need to change the way we're reaching out? Do we need to be proactive in a different way? Or is it just a matter of receiving enough to compile? So I appreciate you pointing that out. I look forward to seeing those and what actions we as the city government can take to improve and respond to those, or to keep doing what we're being told that we do well. I'd like to see, and I'm fine with the fact, well, let me comment on this. You have conducted the recruitments in-house. You commented on that, for your department heads. I think that's a smart move. I think hiring a consultant to look for boxes that are checked yields mixed results at best. And whatever magic formula you have for conducting it in-house has yielded very strong hires and department heads. And I honestly, I'm surprised. But I'm glad, and I give you the credit for that. That's a difficult skill for most people of any level of experience, and for you to have figured that out at this point in your career says volumes. That's one of, I believe, the most challenging and unique skills to have and develop, and you're there. So well done on that. I would like to see that, and we've briefly talked about this, you take a role in negotiations, which I'm okay with. I'm glad you do. You understand the workings and the interrelations. Having a better understanding of state law as it relates to labor management relations is, I think, a goal worth noting. I think you've probably already set that. I think it's good. It was mentioned earlier in that leadership conference, employee involvement and engagement. We have great employees, and I'm wondering if we're successful. We may be. I don't know. I don't know if you know. In some type of feedback on our employee engagement and involvement in how they perceive their participation in not just the task of their job, but in having an influence in the team, in the policies, in the efficiencies of their departments or divisions that they work within. I believe that there's talent throughout the stratosphere, if you will, of employees within the city, and tremendous synergism can be achieved by engaging and involving and at least knowing if we're doing that or not. I think there's a lot of potential there. I'd like to see that, along with the many other things that you do.
Can I touch on that for a moment?
By all means.
So on our strategic plan, we have a employee survey that was just completed. I haven't seen the results to that, but I think that'll give us some insight into how employees are feeling regards to their, hand in policy and other types of things you just mentioned. So.
Great. I look forward to seeing those results also. Thank you for involving them. I remember that we discussed that. Yeah. And again, opportunities for increasing our excellence, right? Our excellence in government. I appreciate the responsiveness that you've shown to the culture of excellence and customer service in your tenure and in our tenure on the council in working with you. I think there's strides that have been made and strides that can yet be made in working with our departments and becoming proactive. And I've seen some presentations already from community development on potential for being proactive in that way. So I appreciate that you're doing that. Thank you. Those are the specific comments that I have. Again, I think the best summary is to say amen to all that you presented there. Man, that's a lot. And in the joke, what do you do in your spare time? I'll tell you this. You never fail to get back to me, evening, day, weekend, doesn't matter. All of you, matter of fact, I'll say that. But with all this that you have on your plate, and you're still, and I know I'm not the only one, and every time I reach out to you that I've been contacted by a citizen and asking for either feedback, follow-up, or a meeting, you either already know and you've already got an answer, or you work with me in getting them to the right person every time. I mean, that's excellence in government and responsiveness to the people that we're supposed to serve. And thank you. These things, might seem small or might be stated in a short time, but are powerful and meaningful in municipal government. And I never want to, be viewed as, can't fight City Hall, right? We want to be the antithesis of that to City Hall is an ally to me, and they help me, and they're there to help resolve any issues that I might have and facilitate the project, the permit, the wall, the driveway, whatever it is we're working on, right? And we're getting there. We're on our way. And there's opportunities to continue to seek that excellence and achieve it. Thank you for your diligent effort and energy. There's a section in here, are you physically and mentally capable to do it? I'm glad it's you, because you are. And really, you're excelling. So those are my comments. Thanks.
Thank you.
You. Next.
Ready for a
Go
moment?
ahead.
I'm ready for a moment.
You want to say anything?
I just think Steve just talked me into 5. I think we should just grant it here and now.
And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Councilwoman Jorgensen. Do you want to say anything? Don't want to say anything. Go ahead.
I already said some
Okay. The thing that I am aware of is how we're organized in this concept of city government. There's a strong mayor, and then there's the strong city manager form of government. We have, by law, the strong city manager, and we've got one, and we appreciate it. Your hand is on the tiller, and it shows, and so your ability to do so much and to do it so well makes us look good, and we appreciate it. And with that, if no one else has anything else or questions to ask, I'll accept a motion.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm comfortable going where you did, but if you want to make the I think, you know, in alignment with the other department heads, I make a motion that we approve a 3% merit increase for the city manager, effective today, a 1.87 increase effective retro to July 1, 2023.
I'll
1.875. Did I say the wrong number?
Correct, 875.
1.875. Sorry, we've said so many numbers today.
and I'll second that.
And is there any discussion on the motion? And if not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? None? All been unanimous with those present. I will say at this time that Councilman Fox has chosen to do what he's supposed to do with his family, and he is absent for very good reasons, and our thoughts and prayers are with him and his family. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. City Manager. We will now open it up for public comment.
Matt Reagan, longtime resident, Boulder City, and I've been participating on the airport group meetings with the city manager, our airport manager, and also with Mr. Bryce Bolt. And what I've learned, or what I've observed from Mr. Tedder's mannerism, is that he's a very good leader, and I define the very good leader as clearly a person who leads does not have to know everything. And it appears, obviously aviation and airports is out of his area of expertise, but yet he relies on people who actually have been around airports and around it, and he takes the information and makes very good, he's making some very good decisions. And to me, that's the mark of a good leader. And I think that's going through this whole process of what we've done for the last 5 years is tried to work with the city and the airport and make it a better relationship, because for the last, ever since I've been here in Boulder City, the airport has been kind of one of these things of, it's been rather more trouble than it's worth, and just because of the grants. But now it looks like we really have a very good relationship with the city and also the folks that use the airport. And it's good to see that that airport is going to be looked at as a very good asset that it is. And that could only happen by the city staff and also yourselves, the city council, in recognizing that we do have a wonderful airport down there. I'd like to say that I think we're in very good shape as far as what, for the last several years of having to deal with the city attorney and the city manager, and they've been just fantastic as far as whether we agreed or disagreed. They've always been very professional and very courteous, and we sure appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other one on the phone? 702-589-9629. And is there any written comments?
No written comments were received.
702-589-9629. And there is still a 30-second hesitation, and so we're going to wait for 32 seconds now. No one's on the phone. We'll close public comment, and the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.